Alright, let's get this really cute fall shelf sitter project started. You're going to start by taping off the little inserts that are on the bottom part of those main pieces. So the mushroom, the pumpkin, the sunflower, and then the fall sign. You just want to tape those off, that way the paint doesn't really cover those areas and make it hard to put into the slots when you're all done painting. So you're going to need a baby wipe or two, some sponges, a paintbrush, and then we're just going to use a variety of fall colors. So some brown, yellow, orange, red, and green, and you'll need a little white as well. So start by using one of the baby wipes to put a very small amount of paint, brown paint, on your sign. And then without adding any more of the paint to the baby wipe, you're just going to kind of run the paint out and put a little bit of a base coat on some of the other pieces, including the pumpkin, the leaf, the acorns, the mushroom, and then just a smidge of it onto the sunflower as well. That just kind of gives it a base coat for the paint to show up a little better on top of it. And then I'm using a little bit of green paint to cover the base and the leaves and stem of the sunflower. So now we're going to switch to using a sponge and start adding some of those oranges and yellow and red to the pumpkin and also the maple leaf and the mushroom top. So the colors might not end up super bright when you first put them on, but just put a thin layer, and we're going to gradually build up and kind of add some layers on to these pieces so that way it shows up more bright in the end. What I like to do with the maple leaf is kind of add a little bit more of the red in the tips of the leaves, and then the center kind of make yellow pop out. So it gives you a little bit of an ombre. So it's not just one boring color. And I'm just using some plain red for the top of the mushroom. So we're going to build up the sunflower petals using some yellow and just kind of gently go around and add some of that bright yellow to each of the petals. And then I'm going to intensify the yellow on the inside of the maple leaf, and also put just a really slight highlight of yellow on the side of the acorns. And then I decided to paint the Hello Fall words yellow. I'm using a piece of tape to secure it down, so that way the pieces don't move around as I tap up and down with the sponge. So tape can come in handy for lots of reasons. So you can build up another layer of orange on your pumpkin to make that a lot brighter. And I'm just using the same sponge to kind of work back and forth between those three warm colors. It's totally fine to keep using the same sponge, and you're just going to add a little more color as you kind of go through the pieces. So I'm just using that same sponge for all of the yellow, the orange, and the red, and kind of just tapping off. Like if I am using some red but I want to switch to yellow, all you got to do is just kind of tap off a lot of that red, and then it'll be fine. So if you switch over to a detail brush, we can add some of the other details to the pieces, like the acorn tops. I'm just taking some brown paint and applying some of that just to the acorn tops and also the stems. And then we'll do the same with the pumpkin stem and the maple leaf stem, as well as the center of the sunflower, just kind of building up that darker brown color. And you can use the detail brush for other things like adding some highlights, or we're going to use it for the mushroom dots. But first I'm just going to build up that red color a little bit more. So anything that you want to intensify, just keep adding layers of paint, letting them dry in between. And then you can use a detail brush or even a marker to do the inside of the veins of the leaf if you want to bring that part out more and really make it pop. So it's all in the details. If you decide that you want to add more details, you can take it as far as you want or keep it as simple as you would like. It's totally up to you. So I'm adding a little highlight to the leaves here and the stem of the sunflower, just with a little bit of brighter green or some yellow. And then I wanted to paint the little leaf that's on the sign. You can use whatever color you want. I kind of made it look similar to the maple leaf that we painted earlier. And then just adding a little bit of darker brown where those lines are and kind of around the side of the sign. It makes it look more realistic and just gives it some shadow. And then if you take some white with a tiny bit of brown and just kind of dry brush, streak some of that lighter brown on some of the boards, it just kind of makes it look nicer. Like I said, you can do these little details or leave it out. It's totally up to you. And then I'm adding some highlights to the pumpkin using that brush and some white mixed with a little orange. And also adding a little highlight to the stem. Taking some plain yellow on the brush and really just intensifying some of that yellow. Just basically putting a little bit on the center of the petals. And then using the opposite side of my brush, I'm dotting some yellow dots on the center of the sunflower to make it look like the seeds. And then the white dots you can fill in with the brush on the mushroom. Just kind of take your time. If you go outside the lines a little bit, don't worry, just let the paint dry and then you can go back over it with some red. I had to do that on a couple little spots. Add a little streak to the base of the mushroom if you want. Just kind of cleaning up one of those lines that I went outside of, and then like I said, you can take some of that red paint to clean it up too. So our pieces are looking really nice and starting to come together. You just want to let these dry, and then parents, we just want to make sure that there's an adult that is gluing, especially if you use super glue to attach the Hello Fall. Just do little drops of super glue, or you can also use wood glue. You can use craft glue. That is safe for kids to use. It just may not be as strong, of course. But for a little project like this, you can just use whatever will work. Make sure to cap off your glue before you set it off to the side. And then we're going to start peeling off all of the tape on our pieces. You just want to make sure that your pieces are all dry, that way you don't smudge the paint. And that way it'll be ready to insert into your base. Alright, so it's time to assemble this together. And the cool thing about these slots is that you can kind of play around with your pieces and just, fit it in however you think looks good. And you could even add something, once you get everything in place, if you want to add something like some moss. There's like craft mosses, or, just something that would look like grass, any kind of texture that you might want to add. You could even attach some real acorns instead of the wood cut acorns. So just really make this however you want, and the cool thing is that you can arrange it differently at any point. I decided to glue one of those little acorns to the front just to kind of give it one more layer to step that in front of it. So you can do that if you want. You could even glue an acorn to one of the other pieces. Just kind of have fun with it and arrange it however you desire. That's the hard part, is making a decision. All right. I hope you had fun with this project, and I would absolutely love to see how it turned out.